I swear, if I ever need a show to deliver, it's Dandadan.
I know I should make it big time, but she's scared to try again. I won't die for this shit or what the fuck I say. Front yard, broad day.
Super side note, but I have to say it, if Studio Science continues doing what they're doing, they might be a studio I have to look on for a radar, not only for Dandadan, but also for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World with that animated series itself. I love that as well. I just wanted to kind of just get that out there, at least out of my mind. But Dandadan's back and it's still fucking peak. I do hate the fact that they always do that thing of it's season 2. No, the fuck it is not no season 2. This is all season 1. Where we just want to split it in half or just take a little more time to finish it out. But besides that, I love the season. I love the new characters that get introduced as well as the new things that happen in between them. Whether we're talking about Gigi, Evil Eye, or we're talking about Okaru and Momo's relationship deepening, or even just talking about a little bit of Shiratori that we don't get much of in this season, but it still tells you a lot of, and even a new character himself, Kinta, which is kind of the go. I will get into story things, but I already did that in the first video, as well as getting a little bit into deep with Okaru as well as Momo in the first video, so go ahead and look at that a little bit. I will be talking about them, just not as in-depth as I did in the first video there. But one of the first things I do want to say is just the compliments I gave in the first video, which was the relationships. I love the relationships in this show, Dandadan. I feel like they do it exceptionally well, and like I always say, it's not just relationships as boyfriend girlfriend, but just relationships between maybe a grandmother and her granddaughter, or maybe we might see from friends or from first appearances and just random people in general. I love how so far as the story progresses, Momo and Okaru's relationship kind of develops more and more, and like I said before, I'm not really into the romance genre. I haven't really stepped my foot in there. I haven't gotten my feet wet in the romance genre, but I do love what I'm seeing when it comes to Dandadan. With us seeing that like they're just getting closer and closer, whether it be from hand holding or maybe just nudging, and just slowly but surely they will be boyfriend and girlfriend. Again, they don't got a title on it, but they basically are boyfriend and girlfriend. With this show having so much stuff in the foreground, sometimes it's easy to forget all the stuff in the background, like the relationship that they have, or just things that should be happening, like him, Okaru's supposed to get back his balls, but he's not really getting that, and the moment of time where you have to deal with a whole different other side quest. But it's always such a pleasant thing to see when it comes to Okaru as well as Momo, where Momo is a person who feels like she got her heart broke and is kind of annoyed after probably maybe a few boyfriends here and there, that she's like, yeah, fuck, I don't think I'm gonna be able to find anyone anytime soon. And then Okaru, who has no experience whatsoever, and him having sometimes doing the little things that really make her happy or excited or makes her love him, like when he waits outside for her to come home from work instead of letting her go home by herself, and just having it be a relationship that grows. Even me calling back to season 1, where Momo doesn't really want to talk to Okaru because she saw a miscommunication and she just assumed, oh, you're just with this other girl, you kind of play me like someone else. But Okaru's like, no, I want to be more grown up. Let's have a conversation. Let's be actual adults, even though we're teenagers. Wait, that sounded kind of weird. For me, just being happy to see it grow and blossom, and oh my fucking god, and yeah, okay, I guess, yeah, that's bad. Anyways, another relationship I really do love in this show is with Momo as well as Miss Ayase, the grandmother. I love how the grandmother tries to attempt to mask herself in the terms of her always seeing her granddaughter and being like kind of like standoffish, but in reality she's the most kindest, most loving person there that will give. But whenever it's her turn to receive, she doesn't accept it. It's more or less like that old man or old woman mentality of, I want to help you, but you do not have to help me. I've lived a long and good life. You don't have to do this at all. And in a way, not really accepting it, but accepting it all in the same breath, which is, if you've been through it, if you've seen it in your real life, then you understand. Which was in one of the situations when it came to her house getting completely blown up and torn to shreds. Everyone wanted to help her, but she just was like, no, I don't need the help. I don't really have the money to actually help myself, but it's okay, I'll be fine, don't really worry about it. But everyone comes and helps her anyway because she's always been a giving person, and she always sounds like a standoff person, but her actions speak way louder than her words, which even gets called out by Okaru, him saying, you've literally helped me and so many other people, please just accept our help. From Miss Ayase helping out Gigi, from Miss Ayase helping out her own granddaughter when it comes to controlling how her powers work, or how she helped out Okaru try to get back his balls the whole way through without asking for anything in return. Besides the fact that she even called all the kids that are there her kids, and she wants to protect them in any way, shape, or form, or give them what they want. And that being one of my favorite scenes in the whole season, because it was also with Manjiro, who was Miss Ayase's student. But Manjiro was having a conversation with Miss Ayase because he's like, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. You are literally trying to help Gigi out with this evil eye situation, but he's literally tearing up the house. He's literally gonna get someone killed at a certain point in time. You have to get this situated, and we have to have an exorcism. With the ending of the conversation with Mandro saying that you have to have the ability to tell that your kids the reality of a situation, that this is what has to be done. Not everything can be sunshine and rainbows at the end of the day. Someone else who didn't have a lot of spotlight this season, but had a lot of spotlight last season, and it still has a bit of an impact if you were paying attention, is actually Shiratori. Shiratori, in the beginning of this season, you do see her not hanging out with anyone. She has a whole bunch of guilt and regret for what she did in the last season of telling everyone, oh, Momo's a weirdo, oh, you shouldn't be hanging out with Momo because she's gonna do something weird to you or your friends, and kind of just like putting out a whole narrative about Momo. She feels bad and feels lonely about that, and you can see it in her eyes. And again, this is only like in the first episode, it's not that long, but it's what I'm getting from that small little scenario. It's kind of eating at her, and she doesn't want to go over and say hi to anyone. It's sort of in her head. She doesn't think anyone wants to talk to her after she's done all these evil and fucked up things, even though she was Miss Popular. And it kind of just all correlates when you really think about her character now too, when she really wants to go after Okarun even more than she already was doing before, or how she wants to be the leader of this quote-unquote team, even though she didn't want to have anything to do with this team or any of these people except for Okarun. If anything, it feels like it's food for thought that I hope we do get into more as we get into the more later seasons, or even down in the manga if I decide to pick it up and read it, which is honestly I really might do. We'll see. But the biggest thing this season was Gigi and the Evil Eye. Now Gigi and the Evil Eye are one of the most saddest things about this season, but two, also one of the most happiest but weirdest situations that we do see throughout the whole season. Now see, the Evil Eye is actually a little kid that got sacrificed when he was really young because they thought that it would keep the mountain from erupting. Now this little kid turned into an inherently a curse, because whenever you do see this child, if you're a parent, it makes you want to GTA 5 yourself, but if you're a regular kid, it doesn't really do anything to you. They just see a regular ghost and it gets kind of weird. They're like, okay, whatever, I guess I'll just move on. Which gets really sad and problematic because the people that sacrifice this cursed spirit originally keep doing it over and over and over again with other people's children and parents, and it gets really sad because the Evil Eye is doing this like unconsciously or unwilling. He's just doing it passively, with us getting a very sad but in detail the origin of him just wanting to have friends to play with. That's literally all he wanted, but his childhood was robbed from him because they wanted to sacrifice him for some nonsense belief. But enter Gigi. Gigi is one of the most hyperactive, cool guys that wants to basically just do and be with any and everyone there, alongside with being really funny, or at least he thinks he's really funny. So he's actually a perfect match for the Evil Eye. When the Evil Eye possesses his body, he wants it to possess his body because he wants this evil spirit to not be alone anymore. With it being stated that Gigi is actually the perfect vessel for the Evil Eye to become a really big, dangerous threat, but realistically, it's really perfect for Gigi because Gigi is a really good person. Gigi is the only person that can actually nurture the Evil Eye and make it probably into a good entity, and them actually being best friends and him actually having someone to talk to here and there. With it in the end also seeming like it's a nature versus nurture situation where its nature is to quote unquote be evil, but they're nurturing it to be a really good spirit instead. And with that premise alone, we get into a lot of funny situations where he can't actually hurt or kill anyone else except for Okarun, which is pretty fucking funny because they're like, okay, you can't do this even though you're extremely strong and you would help us instantly in the situation. You cannot do this because I don't want you to have the nature of like, okay, now I can just kill any and everyone because I can. But in the same breath, it's still super early on, so I really want to see more of what they have to offer later down the line. But I also have to talk about my GOAT, my fat king himself, Kinta. Kinta is one of those characters where he seems super awkward, super weird, and it felt like everyone knows a Kinta, but in different shapes, forms, and sizes. Kinta is basically a walking insecurity of him wanting females and him wanting a lot more female attention, but he doesn't understand how Okarun does it, and apparently he's been there ever since episode 1, just in the background as one of those jokes. It feels like a One Punch Man joke, if anything. But he's been there since episode 1, and he's seen everything. He's like, how the fuck does this guy do it? How does this guy actually get all these girls? I don't understand. So he doesn't act like himself. He acts like what he thinks that the girls would want him to be like, but in reality, he should be acting more like himself, which again leads to a lot of funny hijinks like 10-gallon fucking wiener. But not only him being insecure, he also has to find himself. He needs to work on himself and be comfortable in his own skin before he's able to reach out and be with another person, because then he's gonna have all of his problems and force it upon someone else, which he gains a momentary happiness when he actually gets to drive a mech and actually be a person that's like, oh my god, I actually achieved one of my dream goals. It makes him happy. It makes him a lot more confident into the person he is. Especially when we see in flashbacks of him getting made fun of hey, you like mechs, you're a fucking idiot, or you're like 5 years old, and then just like throwing his stuff around and him just getting bullied, to him then living out his dream and being happy that he was able to actually live it out. But Kenta is one of those characters where I can't wait to see what he develops, or at least what he turns into by the time we get to the end of the story itself. But me seeing that he has like one of the most biggest potentials of being a really cool fucking guy. But I really do love the relationships that they do have in this show. I feel like the author's a master at just like making not only relationships, but making a whole bunch of relatable stuff that even feels relatable with different walks of life with great comedic elements here. I think one of the reasons too that I love Dandadan so much is probably because of Fooly Cooly. It reminds me a lot of Fooly Cooly, and that's my favorite anime of all time. But when it comes to Dandadan and Fooly Cooly, what they have a lot in common is it feels like at first it's a lot of nonsense that is put in front of your face, but in the end it's actually extremely important or is extremely connected to another thing later on. Like for example, when we get into Dandadan, the rock stars that we do see at first, they're like, okay, this is just like some goofy nonsense, and later on we found out that actually one of the most important things to the story were not only being a way to exercise Gigi, but then later on being important again for Okarun, figuring out how to use his power even more correctly than he did before. Feeling like a beautiful, great mixture of us having fun, but also it being extremely important to the story. But other than that, I think that's it. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. If you guys have anything to say in the comment section, or anything about what I said, or just want to just talk with me down in the comment section, I'm always there. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.